Hey everyone, thank you so much for inviting me to your classroom today. My name is Christina and I work for the Down Syndrome Network of Northern Nevada. And today I want to talk to you about Down syndrome and maybe a new friend that you guys might have met already. I'm sure most of you recognize Sebastian. He's a boy who loves to play, explore, and learn, just like you guys. He also loves spending time with his friends and family, just like you. He's determined, smart, creative, and so talented. There's just one thing that makes Sebastian a little bit different than you. Sebastian has Down syndrome. Do any of you know what Down syndrome is? If not, that's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm going to help explain it to you, and I'm going to show you guys how to be a good friend to someone with a disability. Down syndrome is a disability, and a disability is something that makes it harder or impossible to do some things. There are lots of different kinds of disabilities, and Down syndrome is just one kind. Disabilities can be physical or cognitive, meaning in the mind. And Down syndrome's both. It affects a person's mind and body. So you might be asking yourself, what causes Down syndrome? Well, it's a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to explain it to you. Your body is made up of trillions of cells. Cells are so tiny you can't even see them. And then inside every cell are even tinier things called chromosomes. Our chromosomes determine all of our traits, like our eye color, our hair color, how tall we are, our skin pigment. Most people are born with 23 pairs of chromosomes, so imagine like 23 pairs of socks. But people with Down syndrome have an extra copy, that's 3 instead of 2, of their 21st chromosome, and that's what causes Down syndrome. Sebastian was born with Down syndrome. If you're not born with it, you'll never get it. It's not a sickness, you can't catch it like a cold. It's not a bad thing either, it's just part of who Sebastian is. Like most people with Down syndrome, he's a little shorter than other people his age. He has beautiful almond-shaped eyes and a smaller nose. People with Down syndrome have similar characteristics to each other, but mostly they look like their parents, just like you do. So how does Down syndrome affect Sebastian? Remember I told you, Down syndrome is a disability that affects your body and your mind. And learning to talk and write have been harder for Sebastian. But he's a great gamer, a musician, and dancer. So can you guys think of some things that you're good at learning or doing and things that are a bit harder for you to learn? One of the ways that Down syndrome affects Sebastian's body is by giving him low muscle tone. Everyone with Down syndrome has low muscle tone, and that basically means that their muscles are longer, which makes them loose and a bit stretchy, kind of like a rubber band. Sebastian has to be even stronger and more coordinated to do the same things as someone with typical muscle tone. Muscles help us do everything from head to toe. Can you imagine if your muscles were loose and stretchy? It'd be so hard to learn how to sit up, crawl, walk, do everything. Did you know that some kids with Down syndrome may not be able to do things like swim or ride a bike because of their low muscle tone? Sebastian has worked very hard so that he can do the same kind of activities as you guys. We even use muscles in our mouths to help us make sounds and eventually speak. Having low muscle tone in his mouth makes it harder for Sebastian to speak clearly, and he has to work very hard to build the muscles in his mouth. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to have all of these thoughts and ideas and feelings and not be able to say them? Let's think about that for a minute. If you were unable to speak, how else could you communicate your thoughts and your feelings with people? It's so important for us to remember, if you ever meet someone with a disability who can't talk like you, it doesn't mean they don't have something to say. There are so many different ways that we can help to communicate with each other. Some people use a tablet, some people use like flashcards, and some people even learn sign language. So how can you help Sebastian and other people with disabilities? It's so important for us just to be a good friend. Everyone needs friends, and it can be harder for kids with disabilities to make friends. So we need to include kids with disabilities, play with them at recess, sit with them at lunch. You can make such a big difference just by being a good friend. People with disabilities, they want to be treated just like any other kid, so please don't treat them like babies. They need to know how to do things all by themselves, just like you do. Being a good friend means being patient and listening carefully. It can take more time for someone with a disability to think about what they want to say and how to respond, so maybe try asking a question and waiting at least 5 or 10 seconds for an answer. You can also find other ways to communicate if you don't quite understand what they're saying. Offer choices and ask for help if you need it. It is so important that we always use respectful language. People with disabilities have the same feelings as you. They feel happy and excited, but they can also feel mad and sad and scared just like you. They want to fit in and feel like they belong, but sometimes people can be really careless with their words. You might have heard someone refer to people or things as retarded. This used to be a medical term for someone with an intellectual disability, but it's been changed. Unfortunately, some people still use the word to describe a person or thing as stupid or slow. Imagine how it must feel for someone with an intellectual disability to hear a person say the R word. As good friends, we don't stand for that. When people use words to hurt someone or make them feel bad about themselves, they're being bullies, and we don't tolerate it. We let them know that it's offensive, and if you need to, you can always tell a teacher. As beneficial as it is for Sebastian to be in a classroom with all of you guys, it is so beneficial for you guys to have him in your classroom too. You guys are learning the superpower of empathy. Empathy is the ability to imagine what someone else is thinking or feeling. And when we can imagine ourselves in the same position as someone else, we can understand more about how it feels to be them. Empathy makes us more flexible, patient, kind, helpful, and understanding. Empathy makes all of us stronger together. Down syndrome might make Sebastian a little bit different, and he might learn things a little more slowly, but mostly he's just like other kids his age. He's more like you than unlike you. He loves to explore new places and learn new things. He loves to travel with his family. And most of all, have fun, just like you. Thank you so much for listening to Sebastian's story. I hope that you've learned that Down syndrome is just one part of who Sebastian is, and that you have more in common with Sebastian than you have differences. So let's talk a little bit about what you've learned about Down syndrome and what it means to be a good friend to someone like Sebastian or anyone with a disability.